Welcome. If you're just joining us, welcome to WION's non-stop coverage of the 2020 U.S. election. Here's a recap of the main events so far today. Now, as for where things stand, the presidential race is too close to call, with the results in Wisconsin expected in the coming hours. But other states like Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Michigan could potentially take days to complete their counts. The Biden campaign has rebuked Trump for his outrageous false claim that he had won the election. Biden said that he's on track to win this election and we're feeling good about where we are. The election day was overall free of any kind of civil unrest that was feared. But the Trump campaign was calling on supporters to defend the election, and uncertain days do lie ahead. The Republicans look to pick up a handful of seats in the House of Representatives, with Democrats holding the majority. While control of the Senate was up in the air, but chances look slim for the Democrats to take control of the Senate. Now, we are being joined by former White House chief speech writer Robert Lerman from Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time today. Now, the overall feeling is that this is a very close contest indeed. We are talking about one of the closest we've seen in recent times. Now, are we taking into account enough the record number of mail-in votes that they do take longer to count?
Yes. Those votes do have to be counted. So while you might look and see Biden is ahead to 224 to 213, this election is not over, and it is far too early to call a winner. Really, we have 50 states in this country. It comes down to four: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, where votes have yet to be counted.
Right. Now, what are some of the biggest surprises that we have seen so far in some of the swing states? As an example, Biden winning Arizona, and then considering this being a referendum on Trump's presidency, Trump winning Texas, as an example.
Well, I don't think Trump winning Texas was a surprise. But there have been a number of surprises. I think the Biden camp thought they could do very well in Florida. That turned out not to be true. But I think the results in Arizona have surprised the Trump campaign. Right now, it comes down to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada. In many of those, Trump is leading. Why can't we call it? Because many of the votes, especially the way people voted in person, have not been counted yet. Let me talk about that a little bit. In this election, for the first time in American history, you had three basic ways of voting. You could come in person and vote yourself, but vote early. You could mail in a ballot. In many states, people got a ballot, they voted, and they could put it back in the mail if they trusted the post office, which not everybody did. Or you could vote yesterday. And so 102 million Americans voted early for a variety of reasons, one of them being COVID-19.
Absolutely.
People did not feel comfortable going into a polling place and standing for a few hours, a foot away from many other people who are breathing, even if they were wearing masks.
Right.
And so they decided to do it that way.
Absolutely. Robert, stay with me. I will just be going across to my colleague Molly Gamber as counting is still underway in 5 battleground states. They could very well end up deciding who becomes the next president of the United States. Molly, over to you to decode the race in these 5 states.
Thanks, Alison. Now, this race to the White House is a nail-biter for sure. While U.S. President Donald Trump has already declared victory even before the ballots have been counted completely, the fact of the matter is that counting is still underway in 5 crucial states, and that could very well decide the outcome of this election. Let's take a closer look one by one at these battleground states. Wisconsin has 10 votes in the Electoral College. Joe Biden has now taken the lead. He is polling at 49.4% compared to Trump's 49.1%. It's a sudden, narrow lead that's coming in from Wisconsin, and that could be a game changer as well. On to Michigan now, which has 16 votes. Donald Trump is leading here with 51.7% of the votes. Biden has 46.7%. Let's take a look at Pennsylvania now, another crucial state. 20 electoral votes. Donald Trump, as per the latest figures, is polling at 55.8%. Biden is currently at 43%. That margin also, as per experts, is one of the crucial factors which could determine the outcome, which of course is still hours and perhaps days ahead. North Carolina is a crucial state as well to watch out for. It has 15 electoral votes. Donald Trump is now leading narrowly with 50.1%, while Joe Biden stands at 48.7%. Georgia is another state which is in the balance. It has 16 electoral seats. And Trump is again leading narrowly here with 50.5%, while Biden in Georgia is trailing with 48.3%. So these battleground states could ultimately sway and decide which way this election is headed. Back to you, Alison.
Molly, thank you very much for breaking this down for us. Robert, I'll go back to you. It is coming down to these 5 states. So let's look at Wisconsin, where Joe Biden has just recently received a narrow lead. What is your view?
Well, my view is that it's too early to tell. In all of these states, there are votes yet to count. Now, when people voted in person but early, those were heavily Democratic votes. Also Democratic votes, you'll find them in cities and urban areas that have not finished counting. States have different rules about how you count these ballots and in what order. In Pennsylvania, for example, they will be counted. They were counting yesterday, and they will count Democratic or the early voting totals throughout today. So while it might look like Donald Trump has a solid lead in some of these states, that's because there are large pockets of the state where Democratic ballots have yet to be counted, or that is ballots which the preponderance of them would be Democrats, and those have yet to be counted.
Right, Robert, thank you very much. We are going to look at what if the results cannot be decided at the polling booths? What if the candidates decide to contest it? We're going to go back to Molly Gambier, who decode this entire situation for us.
Thanks, Alison. Now, we've been saying it from the start. There is a real possibility that this election could be decided in the U.S. Supreme Court. It's not an ideal situation. It is an electoral battle, after all, not a legal tussle. But the president seems intent on getting the court involved and taking the fight all the way to the court. A short while back, Donald Trump spoke from the White House. His message was clear: mail-in ballots should not be permitted beyond election day, is what he said. Listen in.
The law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list. Okay?
How's the Biden camp viewing this statement? The Biden campaign team is having none of it. In fact, the campaign manager has released a scathing statement, not mincing any words. The president's statement tonight about trying to shut down the counting of duly cast ballots was outrageous, unprecedented and incorrect. That's the statement coming in from the Biden campaign on the president's remarks. Unprecedented and outrageous is how the Biden camp is viewing it. Now, the Democrats seem ready for a legal battle at the same time. Preparations have been underway for a while now. But what does the law say here? Can President Trump legally stop the vote count? Now, his own party lawyers do not seem to think so. This is what prominent GOP election lawyer Ben Ginsberg had to say. Take a look at this statement. These are legally cast votes, and the process of trying to toss them out for some reason would just, I think, be viewed by any court, including the Supreme Court, as just a massive disenfranchisement that would be frowned upon. And that's coming in from none other than the Republican Party lawyer. That's a sentiment within the lawyers and the legal team as far as Donald Trump's camp is concerned. So we are clearly headed for a few days of high-octane political action in the United States of America. Back to you, Alison.
Molly, thanks so much for breaking that down for us. Now, following the issues raised here in terms of the prevailing legalities, we even saw earlier with Trump making a claim of victory before all ballots having been counted. Throughout his presidency, he has been known to do things his own way. But there are governing factors in a democracy.
Yes. Trump's statement that he has won is absolutely premature, just as it would be premature for Joe Biden, who is narrowly ahead when you look at the total of votes. If he declared victory, that would be wrong too, because the process right now in these states that are still in play, they are not looking for new ballots. Nobody's looking for big piles of them put under a bench somewhere. They are counting votes already cast and already at the polling centers. Now, because there are pockets of places where there are preponderance of Democratic votes, you have to wait and see what the results are there. And when the people that voted first, people that voted in person or sent in mail ballots, those were mostly Democratic votes. So it takes a long time to count those. They've been working hard to do that, but they're not finished yet.
Absolutely. Now, Robert, this election is possibly the most divisive election that we've seen, and the two candidates couldn't be more different in terms of the men that they are, their schools of thought and their approaches. At this time, where there are unprecedented challenges facing the U.S., if we take into account the pandemic, the economic situation, also the racial unrest with the Black Lives Matter protests this year, what are we looking at in terms of this election being so divisive?
Well, what we're looking at is, I think, the next few days when votes will be counted first. But second, if you'd like me to go into detail about what the Electoral College is and how those and what lies ahead, I can do that. But basically, electors will meet on December 14th, at which point they will declare officially what the winner is. And now remember, this is a very polarized country, so there's going to be a lot of debate, and both sides have had legal teams preparing for court challenges of every strike.
Robert,
would you like me to talk about how the Electoral College works?
Sure, if you could do it in about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. It started after our revolution. People debated about what was the right way to elect a president. The small states and the big states had different views. Southerners had different views, whether you would count slaves, which they had on their plantations, as people. So this was a compromise that, yes, we would have popular vote in state after state, but each state would then select 2 electors to officially come to a decision. And that's why we look at different states. We don't just look at the popular vote. Right. And while those often track what the popular vote is, not always. In 2000, Al Gore lost in the Electoral College. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2 million votes. She lost the Electoral College vote. And that is why there is so much controversy about the Electoral College itself.
Absolutely. Robert, thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed hearing your insights. Thank you.
I am glad.
All eyes are on the battle between red and blue states. The Democrats and the Republicans are also eyeing the upper chamber, the Senate. As of now, the Republicans have a 47-53 majority in the Senate, but this year's election has only 35 Senate seats going up for grabs. Now, some are considered to be competitive, where the seats can be flipped. Republicans are defending 23 seats, while the Democrats are defending just 12. If Joe Biden wins the presidency, then the Democrats need a net gain of 3 seats to win control of the Senate. But if Trump is re-elected, then the Democrats need 4 seats to attain majority. Interestingly, the GOP lawmakers are distancing themselves from President Trump. Many have been seen urging voters to vote for the most capable senator who best represents their state and their point of view. GOP Senators Mitt Romney of Utah and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine have diverged policy ideas from Trump. A few Senate Republicans have decided to spend a lot more on a new wave of coronavirus relief aid, stalling out on a deal with the Democrats to approve a $2 trillion plan. Now, the Senate is critically important in passing important legislations, and winning both the presidency and the Congress would give either party a massive opportunity to set the agenda on everything from healthcare to taxes to environmental policy. In the last 4 years, the Senate played a strategic role in handing over the baton to the Republicans for all crucial decisions. In July of 2018, Trump nominated Brett Kavanaugh for Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, even after accusations of sexual assault charges. The Senate voted 50-48 to confirm his nomination. In March of 2019, U.S. Attorney General William Barr concluded Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report about the investigation into Russian interference in 2016 presidential election, and Barr said that no conclusion was reached by the special counsel, noting that Mueller wrote, "While this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him." Now, after Trump was impeached in the White House, in the House of Representatives, in February of 2020, the Senate voted 52-48, finding Trump not guilty on charges of abuse of power, and voted 53-47, acquitting Trump on charges of obstruction of Congress. In September of 2020, Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett as the U.S. Supreme Court judge. Now, this to fill in the vacancy that was left by the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. A week before the election day, the Senate voted to confirm Barrett's nomination. Now, due to the surge of mail-in voting this cycle, it could take a while to know exactly what party takes control of the Senate, but the battle seems neck and neck.